And we are back. We found another topic that we want to talk about is dating. Nomads have commitment issues. That worldwide known topic that most of the digital nomads are single.
Yeah.
But you are married.
I am.
And where is she from? Mm-hmm. And can you tell me about the story?
Yes, so my wife is from Germany. We met in 2018 at a digital nomad conference. So you can meet your people at these places. And we didn't connect, we didn't get together at that point. We were both in different relationships. Just before the pandemic, I had been dumped in Bangkok, which was really hard as a nomad. I was in a long-term relationship before this. And I got dumped in Bangkok, and I was like, what the hell am I doing with my life? Why am I in Bangkok? Like, my whole everything, like, it was a really big turning point for me. Not even necessarily because of that person, but it was like I was going through some mental things at the time. And so I called my wife, Kim, my now wife, Kim, who was a friend, and I just said, oh, I got dumped. And she was like, no way, I just dumped my girlfriend today. And I was like, I need like a few months to heal, but like I always knew there was something there. And so we were able to explore that during lockdown, which was a great lockdown. And we got married a year later. We were traveling together, now we have the base in Mexico. I think in terms of commitment issues, I struggle with that too. We're in an open marriage, which helps greatly with that, which just means we have amazing communication and trust. And for us, it's more important that we have life companionship. Like, I want somebody in my life that I trust implicitly, and she does too, and we have the same shared goals. But we also don't want to limit each other from having amazing experiences and living this one life that we maybe have, doing the things that bring us joy and connection and love. So I think that's how we've navigated that.
Was it easy making the decision actually to get married and commit?
No. No, when I first met her, it was an instant, and not just like oh wow, she's hot. It was like wow, this person is someone important to me, and I knew it right away. Which is weird to say because I used to sort of cringe when like married happy people would say stuff like that. But I really genuinely felt that when I met her, and she did too. And so actually we were in Austria and the lockdowns were happening and Brexit was going through, and I'm from the UK. So there was a point where I had to get residency in Austria, but they kept denying me. I had all the paperwork and they kept denying me. And the guy said, well, you could just get married. And so we looked at each other and we were like, didn't even second guess it, just like, yeah, sure. Like, we were going to do it anyway, so like we hadn't talked about it, but it felt obvious that we would do it. So we got married. And then they still didn't let me stay. I'm pretty sure they were homophobic, but we left for Mexico, and the rest is history. When I first started nomading, there was an event I used to go to called 7 and 7, which doesn't run anymore. And we used to joke that like every queer person we knew was in that room because we were just all friends. So we were like, the extent of who we could date is in this room. But I think it's changed a lot. Obviously, there's so many more nomads now, which means obviously the percentage of queer people is so much higher. But the thing that's funny is that at least when I was younger, I feel like you could easily spot a queer woman because we mostly had short hair or we dressed really cool. And now it's like cool to be cool. And so now I'm like, the straights can't keep dressing cool because how do we know who's who? I've had these situations where I recently went on a date with somebody that I thought it was a date, but it wasn't a date. So there's also a cultural level because you don't understand what the queer community or culture is like in different places unless you're integrated into it. So actually, I think there's also a one-up that queer people have, is that we're typically, I mean, unless you're a guy, guys have Grindr, it's a different story. But for girls, we like to connect more deeply, I feel, before just like taking someone home. And so we're not meeting people on the apps necessarily. So we'll go to a gay bar. I mean, I'm talking from my own experience, which is a really interesting cultural experience in itself. But I think it's an interesting cultural experience that we get to have is to experience the queer culture in countries. Like, that's an experience most people wouldn't go and have.
To find other people, gay people that you would like to meet and date, first step, you're trying to find a gay bar to go there. What if there is no gay bar?
So actually what I do when I travel, I used to travel anywhere, but now I don't like traveling to places that don't support my identity and giving money to those places. So when I'm going somewhere, I always see if there's a gay bar, because for me it's a sign of like progressive thinking. I don't need to meet people in gay bars. I will use apps, but there are a lot of Facebook groups in places. And in fact, that's why I started Rainbow Remote, because I know it's not just about professional connections and elevating one another. It's also, there could be romantic connections there too. So there's queer digital nomads, there's queer women digital nomads, gay digital nomads by Nathan Aguilera. And I do Rainbow Remote. So I think there are a lot of communities popping up. Now that the digital nomad space is so much bigger, there's so many people, there are these more niche spaces. So you can look virtually as well.
What are the culture differences you can see in the gay culture between different nationalities?
Some nationalities, girls want to hold your hand just because that's what they do, platonically. And you don't know that they're not gay until you embarrass yourself and go in for the kiss. Yeah, those kinds of things can be funny. And then I think just general cultural things that like any type of people would have. But yeah, I think it's more about platonic touch. For example, if I was to go to California, it's going to be extremely different if I went to Eastern Europe, with how open they are or how they talk about their queerness. Like I sometimes find some places very intimidating with almost how open they are, because I'm like, oh, I don't even know what these words mean that you're using, you know? So like, I feel like out of it sometimes. And then in other places, it's much more reserved. Like I spend a lot of time in Budapest. I love Budapest. And while that's a liberal spot in a largely conservative country, people are more conservative there. Like, you know, you might see people holding hands, but it's not common. As opposed to London or New York or something. So I also have to be aware of that as I travel with my wife. Like, where are we safe? Are we safe here? It's something we need to consider when we're booking a hotel room. Should we get twin beds and just push them together so nobody asks anything? Those kind of things. So it's important to think about those things.
Which countries are you feel the least safe?
Tunisia.
Okay.
Yeah, there was absolutely like not being out at all there. Like, in fact, like there are places where I just pretend I'm straight and married to a man. Okay. Parts of Indonesia. Not Bali, but Sumatra, for example. Morocco. Yeah, I think places that criminalize my identity are places that I'm wary. And then there are places where it's just like amazing, like Berlin and London and New York. And like I like going to, and where I live in Mexico is extremely queer friendly. So it's that was a big factor for us having a base there too.
Maybe you remember other cute dates situations?
I'll tell a joke. If there are any lesbians watching, you'll get this. So you know, like I don't know if you're aware of the joke about lesbians U-hauling. No. So when they meet each other, they'll just move in, like pretty much right away, and then get a cat and never go out again. It's a bit of a thing. So I did like a nomad U-haul. So I met somebody in Bangkok, and we only had, you know what it's like when you're dating as a nomad and you meet someone, you have to quickly get to know them and then decide if you want to continue traveling with them or make plans. So I met this girl, really getting on, and she was leaving to go to Bali, and I was really upset. I was like, oh, I thought we were really connected. So I booked a flight to Bali, abandoned all my plans, abandoned my launch, abandoned, like, I had other trips planned, and just followed her to Bali and then just followed her around. Because that's what lesbians do. And it worked out. Well, it didn't work out, actually. She broke my heart. But yeah, it was a nice relationship for 3 years.
Thank you so much for enlightening on dating experience as a gay.